Right. Welcome everyone on YouTube. Right. Giving this a second for a few tune in. If everyone on YouTube, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. That would be all right. Going to give this a minute for a few people to tune in here as well. So, again, hope everyone is staying safe and warm where you are. I am in Western New York. So go up past my hips. People are walking through tunnels to get to where they need, and it's absolutely remarkable. I am also ready for the beach. So we got to do what we can. All right. So looks like we have TikTok sounding good. Looks like we also have YouTube doing well and sounding good. Let me know if that changes. Announcements while we let people tune in. We have our numerology course starting with Reverend Johnson, numerologist. She is going to be covering weeks of basic numerology. Reverend Danny, if you want to unmute your mic, could you just explain to them, is it life path numbers and life contract numbers?
Yep. So we're going to review and discuss the history of numerology, how it started in ancient Egypt, and how it progressed, and how we use the Pythagorean theory, Pythagorean system of numerology. We also, I go through the process of, before each class session, we review different parts of our numerology chart. Everything's done is hand calculated, which is something that makes it feel even more personal and connected to the charts. And we review life path numbers, expression numbers, personality, and heart's desire numbers as well. And also pinpoints like,
I said the heart's desire number. That one's a huge yes.
yeah, and it's so interesting because it with the numerological charts, numerology charts, they are just a reminder that God and the universe has their fingertip right on us, and it's almost like our numerology chart is almost kind of like a like a thumbprint, a fingerprint, and just very much looking forward to hearing and discussing how the numbers that follow us and how they relate to us, and very much looking forward to it.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. We do have a little bit of an echo, Danny. So if we can get that fixed, Andrea, our new tech person, the scenes working on that. Reverend Danny John, um, teaching the numerology course, you're going to want to register now if you plan to join in person with everybody. That's going to start January, February, March 1st. And this goes all the way to March 29th. It's once a week, again, 5 weeks. And you can go to the website in the description. So everything's at Ivy Rivera Psychic Medium. You can also get this through video download. So if you can't join the Zoom and anybody else, you can still get the classes and attend. We also have a free taste of psychic mediumship. So it's a 3-hour training. You do the door to register for your seat. Again, we're doing that in person or through Zoom. That's April 24th. And the psychic mediumship class for the spring semester starts April 25th. You can go ahead and get yourself on the early bird waitlist. Go to psychicmediumshipcourse.com. Now, the psychic mediumship course is officially evergreen, so you can jump in at any time with the old class. You can wait for that next group if you want to start with them as well. And the classes are a combination of downloads through Zoom. Sometimes we are still offering some in-person stuff. And the mini class coming up this week is called Aging and Spirituality. If you're a person who struggles with the aging process, if you have, like I do, Jurassicophobia, which is a chronic fear, crippling anxiety, in regard to aging, and we are going to look at different coping mechanisms as well as the spiritual aspect and the value of getting older, in particular turning 40, and how it makes you an elder in the spiritual system. So great things. Okay, that's Tuesday the 8th at 8 p.m. back here on TikTok and YouTube. Okay. So it looks like we are good to go ahead and get started. All right. So, welcome everyone. I am your pastor, Ivy Rivera, psychic medium. This is Roots Revival Interfaith, where we believe in the three truths, a combination of numerology, astrology, and intuitive intelligence that is always available to you to help lead and guide you in your life, keep you within your life contract, heal, and ultimately be able to go out and help others in their journeys. I am here with Reverend Christina Del Rey, our astrologer. How are you, Christina?
Excellent. Thank you.
Good. And Reverend Danny Johnson, our numerologist. How are you, Danny?
I'm wonderful and happy to be here with the both of you.
Me too. Happy to have you here. So, you guys, if this is your first time here, welcome. This is an interactive church. So, we encourage you to post your questions, your comments on the sermon, and to also start posting your prayer and healing requests now. We will be getting to those later. Donations are appreciated. And if everybody could please subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up right now, that is also greatly appreciated. Now, we did a sermon a few weeks ago called How to Let Go of Negativity. And we had so much great feedback, and all three of us felt like we weren't done speaking on the topic. And so we had asked you guys, would you like a part 2 to this? And that's what we're going to be doing here today. So today is How to Let Go of Negativity, part 2. And I know Reverend Christina Del Rey, our astrologer, wanted to go ahead and get started with this. Okay, so go ahead and jump in.
Okay, so Ivy just mentioned life contract. We feel like that is one of, that's the main reason you're here, to fulfill your life contract. And when thinking about negativity in relationships, we often get caught in that rut. And when we get caught in a rut, we do not fulfill our life contract because we're not dealing with relationships the way that we are supposed to. And negativity, as we all know, becomes a loop. We have done lots of shows on negativity, and it becomes a loop. It becomes a habit. And I was thinking that we really need to change the way that we look at relationships in this country and maybe in this world. When relationships aren't making the necessary changes to evolve, they're going to become toxic, and negativity will seep in. And no matter what kind of relationship you have, there's always going to be a little bit of negativity that seeps in. And that is like a cue that things have to change up. And we're so afraid of change that we run the other way from change. And perfect example, I went out to dinner with my parents last night. And they're an old married couple, they're in their 70s. And it's so much easier to be with them separately than it is to be with them together. Because together, it's just toxicity. One triggers the other, and it's cats and dogs the entire time, and it's just yelling and snipping and sniping at each other. And it's like you go over there and you go to your corner and leave each other alone until dinner is finished, right? And by themselves, they're fine. So how did that happen? Well, they just kept looping into the negativity. They never made changes. Relationships have to evolve. They're never going to stay the same. If they do stay the same, something's wrong. Some have to die. Some relationships have to die, and some relationships just have to be reborn. And that is what I truly believe. So if we see, we have to look at the relationship dynamics and having open discussions, even when things are hard. Those are those are key to good relationships. And I think in my life now, I am just realizing that. And unfortunately, you have to have two people willing to do that when you have a relationship. And if somebody is unwilling to do that, that is a key that you may have to leave. You may have to take this negative relationship and leave it behind if that person is not willing to engage in that conversation with you. In astrology, we have squares. And, you could be triggered on any such day. You could be triggered by somebody else's chart, a planet, something. And there's usually tension. A square is tension, or an opposition as well. Somebody comes in, you have to respond. And these are all lessons that are in our, they're in our life contract. We have to learn these lessons. But when we are of the don't rock the boat mentality, and we don't engage in those really hard conversations and get the problem out on the table, and doesn't matter, if it's difficult to talk about, but that's when you start evolving into a negative loop and nothing's changing. So that stagnant relationship is going to be really tough to get out of. When you are having, if you haven't a partner, willing to have that conversation with you, expressing yourself clearly, even if it's a written text, face to face, a song, a rap, a Snapchat, something. But when you ignore the problem, that is really when it's going to grow, and your whole world will start becoming negative and toxic. With that said, it's not always the right time to confront somebody either. We have to be smart about things. We have to be strategic. We have to listen to our spirit guides. We have to ask for guidance, use our intuition. I know that we did a class on divine timing. And that's important, especially when you're talking about major relationship issues and negativities. If you want the relationship to become more positive, that is when, you're going to rely on that divine timing. Because, think about my parents arguing in the middle of the restaurant. Not the time to do that, right? And that is because, it's almost like like he puts on his mask. She's like, you don't need your mask right now. And he's like, you're talking too soon, and like, it's like this whole thing. And it's like, so like if they would have confronted, whatever it is that's bothering them, perhaps that those things wouldn't come to the forefront. That wouldn't matter so much. But, doing them at the right time, middle of the restaurant, not the right time to have an argument. So you must listen to intuitive timing. You should really get to know your astrology and the person you are with's astrology, even if it's just sun, moon, rising, north node, perhaps, just so you can know the direction they're supposed to go. Now, this is really key for me, and what I have noticed over the past week, especially with former partners that I've talked to. The hardest part to get through to somebody who doesn't live to their life contract. If I look at a chart and I see what I see, and they're not living at all like their chart. And I don't know if you see this in the numerology, Danny, or not, but the chart doesn't lie. It doesn't lie. Okay. If you have the right time, this is the path you're supposed to be on in some way, shape, or form. You might have your own little take on it. You might have your own little spin. That's great. But you can't be way over here in left field when your chart says this. And this is becoming more and more clear to me as I get to know people, because you're telling me one thing and I'm looking at the chart and I'm like, nah, it's not working. And when that happens, these are the people that they really have poor coping mechanisms. Negativity is going to find them, and it's going to be rough for them because they're not following what they're supposed to be following. They're trying to control everything. I have multiple exes that do this. And when you're not allowing spirit to lead you, and you're trying to control every single aspect of your life, that is going to come back at you big time. It's going to blow right up at you. And it might be fine for a while. You might be like, oh, I'm cruising. I can control everything. But it will get you sooner or later. So these are the people the people who are trying to live their life according to common sense or to what society says, or the doing the right thing, even though that right thing might not feel right to them. This is when, a conversation might not be possible. And I've been in situations where the conversation isn't possible. This is where you exit gracefully. You bow out. Sometimes there's a situation where it's not worth the fight. That's not the negativity. Sometimes you have to put the boundaries up. You have to exit gracefully. And, I'm at a point in my life where I can do that. I can bow out. I can pull my energy back if the person is really that far off their life contract. And they'll come back because they will know that you know something when things start blowing up for them. And they also tend to think that life is random. And I'm always sad when people say that life is random. Life isn't random. No, it's not random. So if you think life is random, you're not living to your soul contract. You're not listening to your spirit guides. You're not, and then your relationships are going to suffer and negativity is going to find its way. So that is when I would tell you to bow out for a while, at least. Take your energy away, because you can't get anywhere with somebody who is not open. They're going to be negative. It's not a good situation. If they're not true to their astrology and life contract, they're going to be so hard to get through to. It's very tough. It is necessary perhaps to have a few words and then pull back, because you can't overload somebody like that. You know what I mean? Like, who thinks that common sense is just the way to go, or they think that, psychology is the only way. And, psychology is so complex. And not to hate on psychology, but psychology doesn't have to be as complex as it is. When you get into the spirit world, it is simplified quite a bit. All right. And as I get older, I realize I have no time for that kind of negativity. Boundaries go up. We move on with our lives. I think the biggest lesson for me when there's negativity is, all right, I got to get rid of it. So I either deal with it or I bow out. And then I make sure that I go in a direction that's going to grow me. Okay. So, and like, these are lessons that, like, I don't know, it took me all this time to learn, but they're valuable because you can't force somebody else to grow. You can only maximize your growth. We are so concerned in this culture that we, with longevity of relationships, getting married, staying married, saying, oh, we were together 50 years. Well, nobody ever got a trophy for longevity. There's no trophy. There is no trophy. God's not going to give you a trophy. We trade quality for quantity, and it's like, there's no trophy for that, folks. Sorry. So I don't know, my eye is on the prize now. Soul growth, career growth. What are your goals? You know what I mean? What is going to grow you? And, you can help a person to a point, but you can't save somebody else. They have to save themselves. And, as long as partnerships are working and you have a willing partner to come together with you and have those needed conversations and maybe walk away for a while and then come back to the same conversation. That's different, that's different. And, I'm really like starting to harness my Lilith energy as we all need to. And, I'm developing who I am, accomplishing my goals. If your goals align, great. But if they don't, step out of the way, please. We don't need that. And, it really takes another partner too, to be an adult, to kind of face those things too, and not, no longer be a child. It takes a lot of strength and character to be able to face problems in a relationship. And unfortunately, not too many people have that. So, if that's a situation, you do what you can and you move on. The thing is, like, you have to be adult enough not to start doing horrible things to the person that you're with because you're sick of them. You know what I mean? Should my parents be calling each other names in the middle of a restaurant? No, those are horrible things to do to each other. That degrades that degrades you. That's not okay. There's nothing okay about that. And as a society, we need to move away from that, because at one point in society, that was a thing, being married for a long time and getting through a lot. That was survival. But now, we need to move out of that and we need to look at soul growth. So it's transformation, it's transmutation, but it can't be toxicity. You should not be, if you know that you're toxic, and sometimes, and I can think of some situations that I was in where I was like, okay, you know what you've done has made me toxic now. So now I can't be around you because I'm going to be toxic to you. So you got to go. So there's always that too. If, I know if, one of my exes would have stayed here, I would not be a good person for him. He's got to go. So you have to know your boundaries. You have to know your boundaries. And that's what I think about negativity in relationships. There's so much that could really be cured with some spiritual awareness and respect, always trying to keep the respect aspect and, just trying to be adult about things. What's your take?
Amen. Well, I think that I like that you led into, there are so many different ways that negativity comes at us, or that we have it within ourselves, or we're coping with it regularly, or we get it from not coping with things. But I like that you mentioned relationships straight out of the gate, because I am in complete agreement that if there were one particular area in life where I see people struggling the most with negativity, it's coming from others around us. And I think of the fruit, the image of the fruit. You got a rotten piece of fruit next to a healthy piece of fruit, and then that healthy piece of fruit becomes rotten. Like, it's literally contagious. And I like the fact that you're mentioning that almost like narcissistic tendencies, which are exploding all around us, and generations of narcissists being bred. We are seeing such an increase and an increase in awareness with narcissism as well. But I think we're seeing more sociopathy. We are seeing more and more of this type of behavior, learned behavior. And if we don't realize that that is in fact rotten fruit, and that it is contagious because it affects, like you said, Reverend Christina, you said it'll make you act in ways that you despise. Well, I believe in psychology that's called like learned narcissism or protective narcissism or something like that, right? So you're basically having to fight it when we should be finding ways to set boundaries and walk away, if at all possible, and as often as possible. But like you said, we see things like staying in a 50, 60-year-old toxic marriage as a trophy. That's what we were brainwashed into thinking is of value. And so what does that mean? Well, then we're not living within our life contract. We're not mindful. We're not growing. We are just deteriorating and thinking it's success or as good as it gets. It's really a loss of an entire life, because there's no value, truth, or peace in that type of a lifestyle. But I just also wanted to interject, and that I know Reverend Danny's going to talk next, and I'll add a few comments on the end of hers. But, we need to think of it not just in terms of relationships, of course, even though that is the number one way it gets at us. But sometimes it's a situation, sometimes it's your work environment. Now, granted, people created that, environment, but sometimes it's, it's more hidden than what we think. I think an evaluation on every area of your life, objects, the way that you think, the way that you even think about your resources, do you run them or do they run you? Your relationships, your connection to your higher mind, your spiritual self, are these things out of balance? And if they are, then you are not going to be seeing growth, and you will be seeing negativity. That is a guarantee. That's how it goes. Okay. So we are either growing or we are deteriorating. life is not, it's not an option when you come to earth to stand still. Not an option. Okay. So yeah, Reverend Christina, I had so many other things I wanted to say on that, but Reverend Danny, I want to open this up to you. Again, I just want to remind everybody on TikTok, if you're having any trouble hearing us or seeing us, switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy. You guys, we are an interactive church, so we encourage you at this time, if you haven't already started to do so, post your questions, your comments about today's sermon, your prayer and healing requests. We're going to be getting on to those, and donations are appreciated. All right, let's move on to Danny.
Pastor Ivy, just wanted to let you know that we've received notice that we're not actually on YouTube. We're not projecting onto YouTube right now. So just wanted to let you know. But okay, just on TikTok. Okay. Oh, I think you're muted.
I was wondering why you weren't answering my question. Okay. So, but we are on TikTok and we're fine there, right? Okay. So for you guys on TikTok, if you are having any trouble, don't switch over to YouTube. Apparently the connection failed. Okay. So we're just here with you guys on TikTok. Okay. I'm going to mute myself now. I'm going to let you talk, Reverend Danny.
I am really grateful that we have the opportunity to have our sermon today on part 2 on negativity, and especially as they relate to relationships, because one of the main things that I've learned over the past year and a half, and I've learned this intuitively, like I know what I know. I've learned this intuitively. I've also learned it from the astrology with having help reading with Reverend Christina, that when cycle, and it also in numerology as well, because my main numbers in numerology help me to understand how I react in relationships when a cycle has ended. And I remember in my last astrology reading, I wholeheartedly recommend everyone having an astrology chart created by Reverend Christina, because in our last reading, she said, Danny, look at I'm looking at your planets. There are squares and trines and things, and there's just so many things. And one of the things that she shared was that, Danny, I'm looking here and there's a cycle that's ending for you. It's literally in your chart. And I said, really? Are you sure? And it's like, are you sure? Yeah, the woman who's been studying astrology for a decade, like, are you sure? And she's just like, mm-hmm. And so we spoke about it, and Christina has like a beautiful way of being able to speak about something honestly, but from a heart space, because, as Leos, we come from this heart space. And she helped me to really accept the fact that there was a certain cycle that was ending. I knew intuitively that it was ending, and I felt it. Like, we always feel it energetically. We always feel what's going to come. And she confirmed it. And so this past year and a half has been an exercise in accepting from a place of gratitude and a place of just recognizing situations for what they are and allowing them, letting them go with love. And as Pastor Ivy, she teaches us in mediumship training about cord cutting. And when we cord cut, we ask for forgiveness. I won't say the whole thing. There's a whole process to it, but a core piece of it is sending off with love. And so knowing when it is time to do that is really critically important. Also realizing too that I so appreciate Pastor Ivy and Reverend Christina speaking about the life contracts, because there are certain times in our lives when we're meant to focus on certain things, and it shows up in our charts. And the pinnacle cycle numbers and period numbers are their age ranges when certain numeric energy shows up for us significantly based upon, and it really is interesting how it relates to the astrology, and it also relates to our life contracts, because if we are if there's certain work that we're meant to do within certain age ranges, very often there's certain numeric energy. We are gifted with a certain dose of extra numeric energy in certain parts of our lives. So if, let's say, between the ages of, let's say, 35 and 50, we are meant to really meant to be knee deep in our work. The number 4 is the number for hard work, and potentially 22, the number for like the master builder. So if we see in our charts that those numbers associated with deeply concentrated, focused hard work, if that's what we're meant to focus on, and we're spinning our wheels, as Reverend Christina was describing a minute ago, what are we missing out on? What are we going to have to catch up on? And also, kind of going back to the way realizing in the past year and a half how I respond to relationships and recognizing when these cycles are meant to end, my life path number and my expression number really come into full force. So the number 1 is that number associated with moving full force ahead, like having a will of steel and determination, and we're going to make this thing work, whatever it is. Now, when it's time, when it is, we are called to do certain work, and we're called to live up to certain expectations from God and the universe. Like that number 1 energy can be really helpful because it can help, to stay focused and determined. When a cycle is ending, and it is shown in every aspect of like spiritual communication, that number 1 energy can really get in my way, and I will spin my wheels and try to figure things out that there's nothing to figure out. It's just let that thing go. And I can literally become my own worst enemy in trying to figure out and internalizing how and why things are not happening. Like, what else can I do nothing. It's like, God bless. Say thank you, and then allow for God and the universe and the ancestors to bring in the next cycle. Now, the thing is, what's interesting is number 5. So life path is like the road that we're meant to walk, and the expression number is the soul walking the path. So my road is number 1, that like determination and will of steel. My expression number, the soul walking the path, is number 5. That's freedom and liberation. And I'm a bird on a tree, on a branch. I'm like, I'm good. And the thing is, once I do accept that cycle has ended, my detachment is just like, I'm good. God bless. I'm out. And it's like, once that acceptance comes in, I really draw upon that love and need for freedom, because just who I am as a person, I need freedom in everything. And it's interesting because there's that a quote from Maya Angelou where she says that love liberates. And it's like to hold on to something that's ego, but love liberates and allows for us to be in the fullness of who we are. And I really love that. And excuse me, the thing is, once we allow for a cycle to close and end, there is peace and resolution. Not to say that it won't be hard. Like, of course, when there are different transitions, good transitions and not so great transitions, can take a toll on us. We're only human. And at the same time, when we allow for it to happen, we can allow for some of that healing energy to come in. And before we know it, we are transformed into a new version of ourselves, who we're meant to be. And the numeric energy that's waiting for us, especially with our maturity number, as we hit 30 to 35, there's like numeric energy that is embedded in us that bubbles to the surface once we hit a certain age. And there's just so much waiting for us if we just give it the chance and the opportunity for it to do so. Also, one of the things that I've been learning over the past year and a half, and I'm really, really working to embrace this, and having conversations with Reverend Christina about my Lilith sign, and it's called Black Moon Lilith. Is that right, Reverend Christina? That's it. Okay.
Yes, it's a chart point.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And when reading about my Lilith sign, I'm actually Lilith in Virgo, and reading about that, one of the things that I've been really focused on in the past year and a half is really embracing personal sovereignty. And that sovereignty is being full and whole and complete, no matter what is going on in one's life, whether there is another person or people, however relationships manifest for people, whether there are other people involved, or you are, or we are completely, I want to say completely, but or whether we choose solitude for a certain period of time, we are whole and we are complete. And even when there is another soul we're with us or next to us, we're still that whole person. And I saw this diagram, or this photo or painting. I saw a visual of what sovereignty, personal sovereignty is for people. And what it is, it's like two islands that are next to each other. So two islands they have their own economy, they have their own ecosystem, they might have their own national bird. They'll have everything. Like, they are fully sustaining on their own. And simply because those two islands come close to one another, it doesn't mean there's like a new nation. No, it's like, this is the island of X and this is the island of Y. And they just are close to one another. They might share resources. The people on the island might share information as to how to keep that island sustained, but it doesn't mean that that island now becomes less of a fully sustaining space simply because of its proximity to another island. And that's something that I've been really embracing and inviting that energy to really be present with me and to live in it. I really want to live in that. I have appreciation for it. My expression number 5, that concept of freedom resonates with it, but I really want to live in it fully. And what's interesting is I think about, when people come, we have lots of people who pour into us at different points in our lives. And I have one particular friend, her name is Nancy. And one of the things that she said is, with regard to relationships, she and her partner have been together for about 25 years. And she said, Danny, when people say two rivers, they come together and they become one river. She said, I will never merge my river with someone else's. I don't want their stinky fish. I don't want whatever's in their river. I don't know what somebody dumped in it. No, we are two separate rivers that flow parallel to one another. And I see what's in yours, you see what's in mine. And we are fully just because our rivers flow close to one another doesn't mean we have to have one big, she said, like one big stinking river. No, we don't need that. She's like, I am my own. I'm forever my own person. And it is a joy to be able to share myself, with someone if I choose to. So those are some of the things that came up with regards to freedom in relationships and, negativity in relationships. The freedom is so present.
Yeah, and amen to that. And I think that this is really exactly it. Like, I feel like we need to look at two separate things in every situation, whether it be, again, your work or your relationship to money or whatever. Your relationships, we need to ask if both individuals are growing and are healthy. And we need to ask where the boundary lines. And if we don't know these two things really about ourselves, then we are pretty doomed to invite in a whole ton of negativity and stinky fish, for sure. And it is really going to come down to, for a lot of people, not just asking, what am I supposed to give? And where's the boundary line? Where am I supposed to pull back? And how do I stay in my own lane? It's not even just about that, because often we know exactly when it's time to leave or exactly when we need to pull our energy back from someone. But we don't want to, we don't want to admit, especially in relationships with like family or, lovers, or if this is even a job that you've invested in for a long time. I see people do this a lot too with things like moving. Well, I've lived here my whole life. Well, I grew up here. Well, or this is my house. Well, I raised my kids in this house. You got to be willing to just wing it sometimes in the universe and say, okay, if I am going to make room for the new, I'm going to have to detox and let go of the old. So it really does come down to a bold energy in stepping forward and stepping out. I think it's also important when we talk about negativity to realize how often you're being manipulated into staying. Again, whether that's your boss, that's a lover, that's your toxic parents, that's a system that has been designed, especially if you're a woman. We have to always, with a critical eye, ask, why is this person giving me things? Why did this boss just finally offer me that promotion when I was about to leave the company? Why, it's sort of like that mischievous saying, that paranoid saying, well, nothing's free, and there's, nobody gives you anything without strings attached. Well, that's usually pretty honest. So if we start examining more situations, relationships in our lives where we are being manipulated into staying in a toxicity, then you're going to have to work harder to break free from that, probably. Okay. And understand that that is the source of your negativity. A couple different things I just want to say off of Reverend Danny here talking about, I think you said it was Life Path 1. Life Path,
Yep.
and I don't know what this is, but Life Path 1, you said people like you who, in a moment, if this is your life path number, people, you gotta know these things. Okay. This is super important to understand really who you are and how you handle situations. So like Reverend Danny said, well, Life Path 1 works great for me when I need to push and I need to plow through a situation, and we are going to do this. Okay. It's team us. But when it's time to leave somebody behind, or admit that a situation is over, it can be difficult to let that go. It reminds me a lot when you said that of cancers, and I do have Cancer Sun in my astrology chart. It reminds me of the tendency for Cancer or other water signs to hold on, and to keep asking, how can I get closure? Sometimes closure is leaving. Sometimes closure is letting it go. You are waiting for something that will never come. And you are looking to fix something that is not for you to fix. So you have to know when it's over, and be willing to love yourself and care for yourself. Okay. And walk away from that. I also love how Reverend Danny mentioned in numerology that from 30 to 35, I think you said, right, that you have sort of a maturity or coming of age. And Reverend Christina in astrology talks about that between, like, what is it, 40 and 42 or 40 and 45?
42 is like the midlife crisis. Is that what you mean?
42.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then one of the things I notice in people's life contracts, and I've seen this in tribal ways and even biblical ways, that and we're going to be talking about some of this in the class on Tuesday, okay, back here for aging and spirituality, that this is a huge level up time. And so it is important for us to understand that there are key points. 25 to 27, the judgment part of your brain finishes developing. Okay. You're not even a whole person until that's done, really. And then we've got 30 to 35 in numerology. We've got 42 in astrology. I see it as pivotal points in people's life contracts. In the Bible, they talk a lot about being 40 years old. In tribes, we talk about becoming an elder of a potential like elder age, right? So when we look at these opportunities, and we know that in order to level up, we're going to have to detox and release some things, it should make it easier for you to prepare for that transition. But if you know your life contract, if you know your numerology chart, if you know your astrology chart, we can also tell you where your numbers and planets and big pivotal points are going to be, because nothing comes without a letting go. We got to make room. Okay. So it's a natural part of life to hold on and hoard and be stubborn, and to turn into Christina's parents, calling each other names and fighting over a mask at dinner in the middle of a restaurant. Not okay. Okay. The example of the old generations and what we're not doing anymore as we go forward. So, I know we probably have some questions and comments coming in. So we do have Andrea, our new tech here behind the scenes, and we are learning for the first time to all work together. So if Andrea is able to put up any questions or comments, we are going to get to those now. And then after that, we're going to be getting to the prayer and healing requests. So go ahead, if you guys have not already done so, and post those in the comment section now. Is she able to do that?
Yep, Andrea, YouTube is up and running, but as of right now, there aren't any questions or prayer requests at this moment.
Okay, all right, very good. So we did get YouTube going, so that's a score. All right, so if you guys don't have questions and comments, then I guess we will move on to final words. Christina, you want to go first, and then Danny and I'll go last?
I think, like, we just have to, it doesn't matter what kind of situation we're in, we have to be alerted when there's negativity or toxicity, that is a trigger for growth. And we have to figure out in what way we're going to move forward on growing. What is that negativity trying to teach us? We have to transform it. We have to transmute it into whatever our life contract is telling us, wherever we're supposed to go. We have to find our way there, because that negativity wouldn't be there if we weren't supposed to be steered away from it. So I think that we just have to we have to trust more. And that's, that is my big lesson. And those of you who have followed us for a long time know the things that I am working on, and trust is a big one.
Right on.
One of the things that I read in this particular book was especially about the sovereignty and being whole, is that phrase, and she lived happily ever after. This particular author said, yes, she will. Whether someone is there beside her or not, she will live happily ever after. God bless the end. And so that is something that I am embracing. And it is wonderful no matter how things progress, because I know that our ancestors and God and our ancestors know best. And this thinking of, if X is not present in my life, or if there is something that is progressing, but it's not exactly where I want it to be, then I am displeased with my whole life. And it's like our ancestors are like, look at all we've done for you. Look at all we've manifested for you. Look how far you've come. Does that mean nothing simply because of this one aspect of your life where there could be something wonderful on the horizon? It's just not here yet. So you're going to, so that's how rethinking and transforming that negativity has been present for me within the past year and a half as well.
Right.
Look at us, Leos. We're like detached. We're moving. Can you tell we're under a Uranus transit? Like, we're totally there.
We are. And learning about Lilith and things.
Oh yeah, so excited. So just a little sneak peek, but Pastor Ivy Rivera and I were talking about possibly like a Lilith class, like maybe like a little something at her place, maybe a little bit online, but we do want to kind of embrace and get to know our Lilith really deeply, so we can all support each other in that. So we're kind of just in the talks part of that so far.
Yeah, we're hoping June, possibly, so you guys can come on out. The beach is 2 blocks away to the old Victorian. Yep. The headquarters here. We're thinking maybe like a 2-hour, class on knowing our Lilith and coming into our power. That is the divine feminine, and for those of you who, can't make it out here, you could join us through Zoom. So I think it's going to be super exciting. I am so looking forward to that.
I'll be there.
Amen. Yeah. And then I think we're gonna have a little sleepover. So, I really feel like the one thing that most of my clients suffer with, most of what I see people struggle with, is the idea of letting go in a peaceful, centered, mindful way. And what we tend to do naturally is to look back and grab and hold on to and feel heavy about, and then give too much attention to the fact that we emotionally feel uncomfortable or sad and depressed about the situation of what we're letting go. I do not see people work hard enough at focusing forward. We have got to understand that when we're trying to eliminate negativity, from our lives, whether it is someone we love very much, or it was, a job we were hoping to keep, or it's a house or living situation, that we planned on having around for longer. It's important to keep the focus on what's really happening. This is a necessary change and transition. It is good for you. It is ultimately healthy for you, even if it's uncomfortable. And you are releasing negativity. So keep your eye on the prize. Why is it that breakup had to happen, for example, or you had to leave that job? Well, so you could get on to better things. And if that is just peace of mind, that is of tremendous value. Tremendous value. If you don't have peace of mind, you have nothing. You have nothing. So we have to give more credit to what it is that we're gaining in those difficult transitions and put more attention on what you want to see happen. So instead of just being like, oh, I'm so depressed that didn't work out. I worked so hard at that. I wanted to have that person, have that job, have that situation in my life. Okay, well, now what do you want to create? This is an opportunity for you to manifest. People talk a whole lot the last 5 to, maybe 7, 8 years about manifestation and law of attraction, but people don't want to put in the hard work. And that requires that you control your mind. If you can control your mind, you can more easily control your emotions and not feed, okay, all of the drama. Focus on where you want to go. All right. And focus also on the honesty, because when that negativity does start to leave your life, it feels pretty darn good. And I think a lot of people don't want to admit that you're pretty happy. We want to just kind of like pout, throw a temper tantrum and hold on. And it's like, admit it. You feel better already. Usually the minute you cut something, your energy just starts to elevate. So look for the signs. The universe will let you know you're going in the right direction, Okay, so I know that we do have a couple. Okay, now we have the comment feed working, which is super exciting. However, we need to get on to prayers and healing requests. But I think that for next Sunday, we have our system down pat. So we'll have this all worked out by next week. But we do have from I see Me Love and a Heather. Everybody's basically saying the same thing. What is this coming into your Lilith in astrology all about? And again, Christina and I will be having a class on that. And it'll be a huge celebration of coming into your divine feminine and your power, depending on where it is in your chart. So we look forward to that coming up. Now, is Andrea able to put up prayer and healing requests? Are we ready to do that? Or do we just want to do a general today?
Yeah, maybe a general, because it looks like there aren't any specific prayer requests, but in general, it looks like it will be good.
Okay, good. So if everybody could please stay on, I do appreciate whether, you want to post your prayer and healing request, you want to keep it to yourself. It's always more powerful when we all join in together. So we're going to go into prayer at this time. Holy Spirit, we thank you for being with us. We thank you for leading and guiding us always, and always trying to work with each individual person based on where they are in their life at that time, how their personality is. Thank you for always being there to support us and try again to get us on our true life path to healing and growth. Today, I just want to offer up prayers for everyone tuning in and everyone who watches this later to help them to acknowledge, to clearly see and embrace the changes that are needed in their lives, and to celebrate the reality behind what that change can bring if they just step out and get started. Reverend Danny, Reverend Christina, did you want to add anything?
I just want to say a blessing for my office mate, Cammie, and her husband, who's been in the hospital for a long time.
Amen.
And I'd like to also lift up Tanya, who is going through and handling a lot, yet is also has a lot of strength and resolve, and praying that she finds the balance of strength and being able to care for herself at the same time. And also prayers for Francesca, who is preparing for surgery soon, praying that her surgery goes beautifully and perfectly with God.
Amen. All right. Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and bear with us as we transition, and we are learning some new tech skills here. I think next week we're going to be on track. We will see you next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern back here on TikTok and YouTube for Roots Revival Interfaith, and I will see you Tuesday, 8 p.m. back here, TikTok and YouTube at Ask Ivy, for aging and spirituality, helping you overcome the difficulties with the aging process and understanding what the spiritual benefits and power are that come with it. Thank you so much, Reverend Danny, Reverend Christina, Andrea behind the scenes doing tech, and everyone who tuned in. Check out our old sermons here on YouTube at Ask Ivy, up in the playlist under Roots Revival Interfaith, or anywhere that you can download a podcast. See you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.